retreat. Failures never taste the sweet. Science lessons learned in flight. Journey on to endless night. For the stars, we aim so high. The projected kiss goodbye. For science and carbon light, we'll keep flying through the light. Rocket launch with hope so grand. EJ's got the master plan. Thrusters burn to reach the moon. In his eye you see the tune. Orbit dreams won't be delayed. Lessons learned from missions made. Kerbal Kind will forge a path to the stars beyond this path. For the stars, we aim so high. The projected kiss goodbye. For science and carbon light, we'll keep flying through the light. Rocket launch with hope so grand. EJ's got the master plan. Thrusters burn to reach the moon. In his eye you see the tune. Keep flying through the light.
Okay. Welcome to the Space and Ship Explosion Review. YouTube. Tell your friends. Wait a minute. You know what? We can do that better. Hold on. EJ's Space and Review. Oh, yep, and that too. Just got here. Any space news? So, yeah. Yeah. Why does the starship always explode? Because it's a prototype. If it wasn't exploding, you wouldn't be a good test now, would it? So, if you have this is pretty much what we're going to talk about today. There is other space news. We can mention that some other time. There no problem. All right. So if you haven't seen it, SpaceX was conducting a 6-engine static fire test last night with Ship 36 at Massey's. There's Ship 36. You could tell it. You could tell it's a ship because of the way it is. Yeah. Here's how the test went. You know, that test could have gone better. That test, that test could have gone better, you know? Starships do that when they're under duress. I mean, that's right. Yeah, it's like when you have too much Alka-Seltzer, your belly explodes. Like that. Just need some bond. Oh, that second one, man. Look at all the locks. Whoa. That's a lot of explosion. Something, yeah. See, it's what I say about rockets. You know, rockets, they're with any type of rocket science, you're going to get explosions. That happens. Sorry, I'm adjusting the fan. It is toasty in here today. So, with rockets, explosions do happen. The thing is, the explosion should be coming out the bottom and kind of going down and kind of away from the vehicle. It should be exploding in one direction. When rockets explode in multiple directions, then you got issues. You got some problems there. Well, it did in the second explosion. No, it didn't. It exploded sideways. Remember, only dynamite blows down, and rocket engines. That's a lot of dip. Yeah, it wasn't great. I was watching that test bedridden last night, and it was not good. So I'm happy you don't have to clean that up. Yeah. Jack seemed a little shook. They were really close, Jelly, from what I understand. You can get pretty close to Massey's. Yeah. If you're watching from Ranch or whatever, you can get very close. I know that there were some people inside of 2 miles. Inside of 2 miles, you're gonna feel the heat. You'd feel the heat from this. Sure. The radiant heat, you'd feel that. It's 93 Fahrenheit in your region in Europe. We're not used to this. I mean, Nova, here, look. This is the temp in my office right now. I get it. Get it. It is quite toasty here as well. Yeah, it's a little warm. A little warm. I'm sweating like crazy. I've only been in here for a couple minutes. So, yeah, heat. I assume Jack and D will distance themselves a little for future tests. Nah. Jack likes to be close to the action. Don't let him. Don't let him fool you. Anyway, so what happened here? So this was basically a little bit after midnight Eastern, 11 local time last night. And well, what happened? Well, okay, D has this slow-mo shot, and if we switch the slow-mo shot to 25 here, take a look. So this pop came from the payload bay. Can we scrub with X video? No, you can't. All right, that's a shame. So this pop seems to have come from right around here. Now, it definitely didn't come from the methane tank. The methane tank is right here. You can see that frost ring, and the methane tank goes to about up here. Okay. Now that doesn't mean that there isn't fuel in that tank. The little frost ring indicates a little bit of fuel. However, The liquid oxygen tank is down here. And you can see by that frost line that the LOX tank is full. Now, first of all, first and foremost, why does SpaceX do this? They do that because if they put 10% of fuel and 10% of oxidizer in there to do a quick 6-engine static fire, it could dynamic fire. They put the LOX in there to make sure the thing is, make sure the TWR is low, thrust to weight. Yeah, they do that to make sure it doesn't break. That's just to be absolutely sure. I'll bet you they could get away with low fuel in both tanks and fire it, but yeah, they fill that up for ballast. So there was like 10% of fuel and 100% of liquid oxygen in their respective tanks. Now, the methane tank stops here. And it's very clear from this shot that the pop comes from above the tank. Now, it comes from the tile side. Now, what's on the tile side of this? What's over here? Well, in Starship, that right there has your transfer tube lines to your header tanks. Starship has its primary methane and oxidizer tanks right here. But it also has another set of cryogenic tanks, a LOX and a methane tank up at the front. Why is that? Well, that's for balance purposes during reentry and then reentry and landing. Right? That's basically your tanks for landing. Now, they clearly were pressed in this. I mean, yeah, actually, we don't know for sure if they were pressurized, to be very fair. I would go ahead and say that they probably were. So what else is in that area? Now, around the header tanks and around the bottom of the payload bay, right, which is basically from right here to right here, this area, on the bottom of it, there's these things called composite overwrap pressure vessels, COPVs for short. That's the other thing that's in the area. What are COPVs, first of all? So no, it's not the COPVs aren't that thing that, I mean, it is the thing that people gets, the coughing thing. But what COPVs are, composite overwrap pressure vessels, are exactly as the name implied. There's a picture of one. This picture is from Dawn Aerospace. But a COPV is basically a tank that's designed to hold cryogenic gases. They hold gases. They do hold liquids sometimes, but in the application here, they're pneumatic tanks. They hold a lot of pressure. So it's basically a steel or titanium tank or an aluminum tank, an aluminum pressure vessel that's been wrapped in carbon fiber. And the carbon fiber basically works like a Chinese finger trap, right? So like, Chinese finger trap, you put your finger in it, you pull away, it gets stronger, right? Pushing outward with pressure inside, right? Makes this super strong. The end result here is that you can hold an insane amount of gas inside of one of these things. You have a lot of gas in a very light package. COPVs are made out of carbon fiber and titanium or carbon fiber aluminum. It depends on the bottle. That's what they're called. That's the term for them. They're called bottles. Okay? It depends on on what it's made out of, etc., etc. But they're usually, in this particular application for Starship, they're used for nitrogen. They could be used all over the place for tank ullage, for fuel tanks, whatever. The idea is that you can get a lot of stuff in a little area, okay? COPVs are used all over in the aerospace industry. That's one that's seen better days. They're usually made on a mandrel, like on a lathe. Actually, not on the tank is the mandrel. They're usually made on a lathe and they wrap the carbon fiber around them, right? And then they bake them so the carbon fiber hardens. But yeah, these are composite overwrap pressure vessels. If you're a firefighter, firefighters' oxygen tanks are composite overwrap pressure vessels. So they're lighter, so firemen aren't lugging around tanks all day. If you're a fireman, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But COPVs come in all different shapes and sizes. Now, a little bit of a background on these things. Who invented them? Where did they come from? Where did they go? Well, the ones on Starship are in the river, I think, if you really want my honest opinion. Next to Joe. Cotton Eye Joe. No, COPVs were first prevalent during the shuttle program, NASA. So Rockwell came up with the idea of basically like in an aerospace application for a COPV. They put them on the shuttle. The shuttle's fuel cells are composite overwrap pressure vessels. The fuel cells were holding cryogenic hydrogen and oxygen for the fuel cells to work because the shuttle doesn't have any solar panels. It basically the fuel cell is the battery. Now that started in the shuttle program in the 70s, and ever since then, they are all over the place in the aerospace industry. They're everywhere. And Starship is no exception. Now, Starship has nitrogen pressure vessels. There's nitrogen in there. Now, what is the nitrogen used for? It's used for a couple of different things. The big one is that it's used for restarting Raptors. They purge out the engines, and when they go to fire a Raptor, they basically decompress nitrogen into the pre-burner, and it gets it spinning really, really fast to start the engine. You got to spool the impellers. You got to spool the pumps. That's what it's used with Starship. Starship, to my knowledge, past versions have used the nitrogen attitude control system with cold gas thrusters, but I'm not entirely sure that these versions have that. I'm pretty sure they don't. So that's what's in that area there. Now, so we have transfer tubes right there and nitrogen COPVs. Now, we did get an update from SpaceX here. SpaceX just had an update a second ago. This was like right before I started the stream. Their update doesn't really add much new information. It's not anything that Elon didn't say, but they said that engineering teams are actively investigating the incident and will follow established procedures to determine root cause. Oh, hey, you're back. Nice. Iggy, 103-month resub. Boom. Big boom. Yeah, okay. Initial analysis indicate that the potential failure of a pressurized tank known as a COPV, or composite overwrap pressure vessel, containing gaseous nitrogen in Starship's nose cone area. But the full data review is ongoing. There's no commonality between the COPVs on Starship and Falcon rockets. That's what I mean. They come in all different shapes and sizes. The one that Falcon 9 uses are completely different than Starships. First of all, Starships are gigantic. They're big pressure vessels. They're huge. Probably like the size of a pickup, well, about as long as a pickup truck maybe. They're gigantic pressure vessels. Did somebody stir the tanks? Well, Andrew, it's funny you mentioned that. What the hell is this? Oh, nice. There you go. Cool. I was like, I don't recognize that flag. Yeah, because it's new. There you go. New to me, at least. Anyway, so going back to the analysis here, take a look. You can clearly see, would a back brace help? Oh, I got one on. Don't you worry. So take a look. There's a catastrophic depressurization here. See that? And it basically starts to unzip the payload bay. Something pressurized inside of the payload bay. We know that payload bay holds pressure because the door didn't open because the pressure kept it from opening. Right? Old man Jenkins over here. Yeah, that's right, man. Unzip is a technical term. Well, what else would you call that? There's a piece of the tank that was over here, now over there. It basically unzips. That's usually what tanks do. Now, it's very clear that whatever created if there are COPVs in that area, like SpaceX said. If they failed, if it popped, well, the unfortunate thing is that if it popped, it probably punctured the header tank pretty much immediately. The header tank and the transfer lines that go to those upper tanks. You could tell that it hit methane and oxidizer because if a COPV did fail, we would just see a big cloud of white smoke. If it didn't hit a methane tank or rupture a methane or oxidizer tank, right? You'd see that, and it would just stay like that. That's, that didn't happen here. Yeah, here, look. Immediately you get an atomized mixture and an explosion, which means you pop the methane tank up the top. All right. So the header tanks are probably draining at this point. If I had to guess, the LOX header tank is probably full, right? That's the header tank up the top. And then the methane one's probably 10% full, if I had to guess. So because the transfer tube line popped, right? Because the transfer tube line popped, and now it's leaking liquid oxygen all over basically the top of the methane tank, it's very clear that that overpressure event punctured the top of the methane tank too, because you have atomization and an immediate big explosion. That big explosion blew the nose cone to pieces, and then you could see some of the other COPVs flying off. Now, see that one? That one's still at pressure. You could tell because it's venting gas. It's venting cryogenic gas. And it basically works like a, at this point, it works like a balloon. If you ever inflate a balloon and then let it go, it's basically doing the aerospace equivalent of that. See, there it goes. You can tell it has, like I said, that one is still full. That's still full. Remember that, okay? Remember that for a second. SN20 is the most complete ship they have. SN37? So, look, couple of things here. So, we have atomization. You can tell because stuff's on fire, yo. That means methane and LOX, liquid methane and liquid oxygen, have combined. They met a source of ignition. You get a big fire. A big fire that expands very rapidly. However, some things to notice here, okay? Look down here. So if the methane tank is ruptured and now exploded, what's below that? What's below that and what's full of commodities? The LOX tank. That explosion from the methane tank popping punctured the LOX tank. And look, you could see the LOX from the tank spilling out everywhere. See it? See it all over the place? Now it's only a matter of time at this point when the rest of the methane here combines with all that liquid oxygen that's coming out of that's now spilling out of the bottom of the tank. It's only a matter of time at this point. See? See it all spewing everywhere? And just absolute shout out to D for nailing the exposure. You can see another COPV flying away over. Oh no, I think that might be a wing. Now look, you see all these little specks? Those are all tiles. Those are tiles. Don't worry, they'll be fine. They're designed to be on fire. It's okay. Now, something very interesting to note here. You could see two more COPVs fly out of the vehicle. Now, those presumably were COPVs that are up here. They are not pressurized. They are at ambient. Because if they were pressurized, there would be a huge trail of white smoke behind them and they'd be zipping around all over the place. Now, I don't know necessarily what that means, but those are definitely not. They're definitely not pressurized. And if they are, they have very little residual pressure inside. Now, okay, that COPV is probably like 20 feet long, I think. So like 4.5 meters. It's a bit, remember, scale, those COPVs are gigantic, right? And there's what's left of the nose cone and flaps over there. Now, you'll notice an extremely bright explosion here. Remember how I said the LOX is now pouring out of the tank like a big water balloon popped. Now watch over on the sides here. Some of that LOX has found a source of ignition. You can tell because it's real bright right in this area here. Take a look. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, look, another COPV. Depressurized. Interesting, right? Actually, that one might have some schmutz left in it. Who knows? I don't know what the COPV depressurization means. Usually these things shoot around like a torpedo. But you don't see that here. There is one over there that's sketching out. That's what that trail is. It's spinning, which is why the trail looks like a helix. But the crazy thing is that LOX tank popped, found a source of ignition, And believe it or not, it burned off all of the traces of methane down here. That's why it's so dark. See this? That is the tidal wave of liquid oxygen that's being shot out in every direction. Now, see, this is bad. Why is this bad? Well, it's good and bad. The good thing is that it's going to put out the fire. It's going to snuff it out because there's no fuel. No methane, I should say. The bad news is that liquid oxygen, if you pour it on things, anything, it'll pretty much make anything explode. You could pour it on piss and probably make an explosion, or at least a fire. Maybe not piss, but you get the idea. Don't try this. Liquid oxygen makes everything catch on fire way easier. That's the right way to say that. Now, with that being said, the entirety of Massey's is now being doused in a tidal wave of liquid oxygen, which is not good. That's not good for it. Now I'm gonna try this. Okay, maybe not piss, but also, yeah, freaking tidal wave of liquid oxygen. Now, once again, very interesting here. You have very lean down here. There's more oxygen than methane, more liquid oxygen than methane in the air. So you don't see, it's very lean. Your mixture is very lean. So it's not very energetic. Not a very energetic explosion. Meanwhile, up here, you have the perfect mixture of what was left in the methane tank and probably the disconnect in the methane lines, right? You have the perfect mixture right here, which is why you get a nice bright explosion. Up here, you're fuel rich because the methane, some of that methane, when it popped, it evaporated up, or it's unburnt. See how the clouds are all dark down here, over here? Fuel rich. So you have lean, stoichiometric, and then you have fuel rich. But because there was way more liquid oxygen in this, it kind of prevented the explosion from being bigger. The problem is once again, you douse the entire test stand in LOX, and now it's going to catch on fire. Yeah. The cloud looks like a skull. Yeah, I kind of see it. Is testing 17.18.1 okay? I don't know. There's a piece of ship 36. See, over there, look, there's a COPV that's venting, and you can see it kind of whirligigging around. See that? That one still has pressure. The interesting thing is that a lot of the COPVs lost pressure instantaneously. So whatever... Oh, look, there's another one. Oh, that's a big one. That's a big COPV. That's the main one. Also, actually, I don't think that's a COPV. That looks like a ring section. Yeah, that's not a COPV. That might be the cargo door. Yeah. Yeah, actually it is. Yeah, good eye, chat. That's the cargo door. Yeah, you're right. It opened. It opened, bros. It's hot in here, man. I don't care. It finally opened. Success. I don't think it was supposed to open that much, but you know, whatever. So check this out. As the methane evaporates, right? And well, a lot of it gets burned, right? Most of this LOX actually snuffed it out. But the problem is now this LOX is trying to find other things to catch on fire, like whatever that is over there. And whatever's behind here, that's probably the methane, the lines going to the methane tanks, if I had to guess. Now close it again. Close the door. Well, ship 36 was supposed to be expendable. Yeah. Anyway, so like I said, all the liquid oxygen here is now dousing the entire pad, and it will catch on fire. LOX doesn't catch on fire by itself. It has to have it. You have to have something combined with it. Problem is, it's combining with all your pad and now roasting it to a crisp. Oh, you still see that COPV? See that one? That one has pressure. See it flying over there? That thing is just on fire, and it's just... So, either way, not a good day. Not a good day for them. If you want to see it in real time, watch this. That was nuts. That was nuts. What an explosion. But you can see, look, all the methane gets burned out. It burns off and it evaporates. Pretty crazy, huh? But look, the LOX actually snuffed out most of the flame, except whatever it doused that was hot. If it found a source of ignition. Yeah. But look, even the liquid oxygen is just boiling off. Or, well, it's evaporating at this point. See, look, something down there. See how dark these clouds are? Now, that could just be the backlighting. The clouds are front lit relative to the camera. But something with methane is burning over there. So, yeah. It popped. That's not great. So what does this mean for SpaceX? Well, Massey's is kind of toast right now. So what are we talking about here? Now, a little bit of a background here. This was a test. It was a test, guys. It was a test flight. You lost the test stand, and that sucks. Losing ground servicing equipment with rockets is always a kick in the nuts, figuratively. Now, if people are wondering where Massey's is, the launch site is right here. The build production site is right here. Massey's is over here. It's at the very edge of Starbase. So this is Massey's right here. The test stand, this is an older picture. The test stand is right here. Massey's looks like a toilet post Taco Bell. Dan Hewitt would say, and looks like we just saw the ship explode. It looks like we might be losing Massey's today. So once again, not a good day, but we'll learn.
Discovery,
Broker,
go at throttle up.
thanks for the prime sub, man. Welcome to Mission Control. You're a go at throttle up. Now, keep in mind, this is a much older picture of Massey's before it had really any of the big fueling paraphernalia, etc., etc. There are pictures of Massey's from the air. I think What About It has them. Give me 1 second. Trying to find them here real quick. The before and after isn't as bad as I expected. Yeah. Has anyone done a flyover? No. Raptor Roost did get to, you got it, Chochu? Raptor Roost did go sail up the Rio Grande, and we saw it from the side. But yeah, here. What About It? That's Felix Schlang over at What About It. Does have pictures here from a flyover. This is what Massey's looks like. Like I said, dudes, anything that got splashed with that LOX is completely cooked. Now there's a flap. I didn't notice that before. There's a flap. Some of the ship's in the river over there. Some of it's over there. Some of it's in the Rio Grande. See all these tanks? That they got doused with liquid oxygen, and then all the paint burned off. There was a little bit of methane that leaked on right there, and it cooked it off. That's why there's just carbon residue. Anywhere where there's this carbon residue stuff, that is where the LOX combined with something and cooked it. So over here is the water system for the pad. Over here is your this is fueling stuff over here. There's your vaporizers. Now, I will say, guys, with that being said, so this is what I was trying to tell NSF last night. Fellas, this is not as bad as it looks. I mean, don't get me wrong, the explosion was pretty damn righteous. That was a big explosion. Sorry, back. That was a big pop. It was bad. Creeper's link. Good before and after comparison. This is from the Space Engineer. I've seen this picture. Thank you, Creeper. That's an RGB picture compared to the What About It picture that we just saw. RGB? Why? RGB? Why? RGB? Why? RGB? Why? RGB? Why? Why? RGB? No, sorry. Like I said, see all these buildings and all these tanks. This is where they got splashed with liquid oxygen. And guys, if I'm looking at this right, a lot of this stuff, it looks pretty intact. Yeah, it's just burnt up a little bit. You might want to check it. But this, I would be replacing these lines, but it looks like a lot of your pressure vessels over here and pneumatic systems, especially for the locks, are fine. Water system's probably going to need a little bit of once-overing. You can see the aft flap is there. That flap ended up over there, indicating an outward explosion. Now, depending on which way the tank unzipped, I'm going to go ahead and say the tank unzipped this way. When the LOX tank exploded, it went that way. Or it could have been on both sides. Because look, so that control surface, the aft control surface flew to the right. Now, the other control surface is, I think, right there. I think I can see pieces of it underneath the tanks. Isn't that the left flap? Oh, it might be. We know that the payload bay unzipped towards the water, which means the nose cone and the forward flaps went this way. They went that way. Or over here somewhere. Oh, man. If that's... it looks like that might be the nose cone over there. And at least the header tank mount. Man. You know how violent that explosion needs to be for the tank to unzip this way and then an explosion pushed that thing and landed over there? That thing got some distance. It went up in the air. The ship's port side is to your right. Man, that's a nasty one. Anyway. Something landed right here and exploded. The charring suggests the methane tank landed over here. The methane header tank. Unless there was something really, really fuel-y, I guess, inside of those connexes right there. Hey, man, I got to say something first. If the back pain is getting worse, you need to check with a doctor ASAP. Oh, I did. I have a herniated disc, Baron. My doctor knows about it. I'm good, dude. I appreciate your concern, guys. I really do. I'm okay. Yum, barbecue test stand. Yeah, I bet you it tastes great. Bet you meat falls right off the bone. Or tile falls right off the starship. Don't eat tiles. They're cilia-based. That's probably bad for you. No, Baron, it's fine. I talked to my doctor yesterday, and I got a script through today for steroids and painkillers, dude. I'm all right. I'm not going to be here for very long. It's going to be a shorter space news today, to be sure. But I'm all right. I can move. But yeah, with that being said, after space news today, I'm going right back to bed. So yeah, no, I also basically spent my entire break between this morning's stream and now upside down on an inversion table, and I'm mildly seasick from it. But hey, whatever. How can you fix it long term? There's no fix for this, Ryzen. The best fix is to make sure you don't tweak your back again. Building up core strength and stuff. I gotta get in shape. That's the best way to deal with it. I gotta get in shape and I gotta eat right, which... Bah. I've said something wrong? What do you mean, Trapo? Are the vertical tanks leaning out of the way? No, I think that's just perspective. That's just the perspective. If, see, all the tanks are all leaning in one direction or another, that's just the perspective. Felix probably got these pictures taken quickly. That's why. They were probably moving, so that all the tanks... If one of the tanks was tilted and the other ones weren't, and, you know, all the tanks were not tilted at the exact same angle, X-Wing, I would say that one of them exploded, like one of them popped or fell over or whatever. But anyway, guys, I mean, this is not great, to be sure, to be absolutely sure. This is not ideal. You definitely don't want your ships doing that, but also at the same time, meh, whatever. Hey, Automat Tech, what's going on, buddy? 3-month resub. Nice, Baron. I don't think the flame... I think the flame bucket's fine. Good thing on the test end, bad thing in the air with crew. Or bad thing on a, you know, an actual, like, full flight test. Guys, I don't think this is bad. I mean, it's a setback for sure. Not pretty, you know, not ideal. Obviously not what you wanted. But, that's just another thing that you've isolated. I know, the pit stains. You're looking at them. I don't care. It's extraordinarily hot in here, okay? I'm sweating my ass off. It's a really warm day. Yeah, this sucks, but honestly, just rebuild it. Rebuild it. It's not a big deal. Stuff blows up. Do you remember in past space news, cast your mind back to past space news that I've done where I'm saying that I've said that SpaceX is really... Starship is so ridiculously unorthodox. It's like nothing we've ever made. You know, it's way more powerful than a Saturn V. It's designed to be way more reusable than the space shuttle. It can move almost... It's projected to move the most mass of any launch vehicle into space ever, period. You know, with Falcon 9, SpaceX was able to tap into a lot of NASA papers and a lot of studies and and use NASA to help develop Dragon, including NASA's astronauts, right? You're standing on the shoulders of giants. With the Starship program, you're standing alone at this point. There's no NASA paper. There's no technical resource that you can go to learn how to do stuff like this. You know, you can do some tile research from that thing to understand how to do that over there, but we're in uncharted territory here. Guys, SpaceX ain't standing on the shoulders of giants anymore. They're trying to stand on their own. When you stand on your own, while doing rapid iterative prototyping, stuff's going to blow up. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Stuff's going to explode. It happens. Is this a processing issue or a QA issue? I'll get more into that in a second, dudes, okay? Does Felix, what about it, have a high-res picture? Jordan, Guide, oh, hold on, wrong camera. Jordan Guidry took this picture. Make sure to go check out What About It, guys. So, because, you know, we look at everybody's stuff here. Make sure to go and support the photographers, like D and Jack and Jordan and Felix and all those other guys. Good people. I've never met Jordan, but I know most of the people down there at this point. Ooh. Yeah, this is definitely broken. So the umbilical got blown away completely. The umbilical's supposed to be here, and that's supposed to be kind of up next to this thing. Actually, that stand fared pretty damn well. The engines most likely are down there. If I had to guess, they're all 6 engines are probably sitting down here. If we can't see them here, yeah, they're They're probably down there. No. Some Bondo. Get me in there with the welder. It'll buff out. So, I'm actually thinking that this picture isn't a control surface. I mean, that's... You know what, dude? That is so ridiculously mangled. I'm having trouble figuring out what that is. I think that's the nose cone, and I think that's a forward flap right there. I think this is what's left of the nose cone. The reason why is the transfer tube lines are right there. See? Now look. Very interesting. It could have been from falling. There's a kink in the line right there. Most likely from where a COPV exploded. But if you look at the other one's completely gone. There should be two lines right next to each other that go down the belly of Starship. Elliot is continuing the gift sub they got from Wayfair Monk. Nice. I think that's the nose cone. I think. It looks like there's a piece of the engine section right there, the Y pipe. That's a piece of the engine section. See, that goes into the landing raptors. How did that get over there? Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. That might be a raptor. Yep, there's more plumbing over there. Wow, that was a violent explosion. Holy crap. Wow. I think that's the top of a Raptor engine. How did it go over there is really my question. That's crazy. You know how energetic an explosion needs to be to shoot pieces of the Raptor, which is down here, up? This is all trashed. That all needs to be rebuilt. I'm not worried about the flame duct, to be honest with you. The duct looks fine. It's reinforced concrete, guys. It'll be okay. Yeah, that's all shot. This is all shot. What do we got there? Pieces of the payload bay. See the internal stringers? Payload bay. Look, you can actually see what I'm talking about. You see where the liquid oxygen doused the tanks? It doused the tanks and turned the paint. It turned the paint into the liquid fuel. The paint on the tank burnt off. Hey, Ale. Thank you for analysis and explanation of what we're seeing. Yeah. No problem, dude. This is super cool. I mean, it sucks, but it's actually kind of neat. Yeah, you got a blown out conduit box right there. The trench is slurry wall. I think it's fine. I'm not worried about the trench. See, it's hard to tell how damaged this is because there's tons of, well, Starship parts everywhere. See that? See right there? There's your bulkhead. There's the CBH. See the stringer? This stuff right here, there's part of the CBH. It got some pretty good distance, dude. I got some good distance. And there's the payload bay. That's the windward side of the payload bay. Yeah. Yeah, that would be the windward side of the payload bay. Do you think the Pad B team will move to repair Massey's? Oh, there's your there's your vacuum jacketed transfer lines. So see those things over there above Felix's logo, above the What About It logo? Those guys over there, that's the stuff that was vibrating on Flight 7. They're in pieces over there. They vibrated this time too. Yeah, those are your RVAC lines. Yeah, they're pretty rough. Now, they did shear at the baffled part of the pipe. Pendaman, you see that? They sheared at the baffling on the top and the bottom of the pipe. They sheared right out, dude. Hey, that's what it's supposed to do. Like, it's supposed to do that. I mean, not like this, but if there's a break, that's what it's supposed to do. Oh yeah, that building caught on fire. Locks got inside of these connexes and burnt that building out from the inside out. Same with that one. Woof. Now, see, I'm interested in what I'm looking at over here. Why is the backside of this tank scorched? Hold on. Let me check something. Let me see if we could see that RGB picture. Oh. Ooh. Yeah. Vaporizers popped. This is what I mean. That tidal wave of liquid oxygen went this way. It went over here. It went all up in here. And look, the backside of that tank is doused, which means it splashed over here, something exploded, and it burned so hot it burned off the paint on the tank. See, the paint is in the wrong direction from the scorching from over here. The paint burnt off of these tanks. See that? There was an explosion over here in whatever that structure is. I think that's the methane vaporizers, I think. Or no, yeah, that's the see the indicator, the placard? I mean, it'd be up there, it'd be a placard there for locks too. If I could see that placard, I could tell you. Are these burnt tanks still usable? I wouldn't use them. It is the recondenser. Good morning, chat. Holy crap! Holy crap, look at this! All right, if you've seen that GIF, you understand. So, Jack, are these tanks usable? Anything that has burn marks on it, I would not reuse. Why? Now, why? Why is that the case? Okay, one, these are off-the-shelf tanks. These are all over. These types of tanks are all over the oil and gas industry. SpaceX uses off-the-shelf GSE. They use off-the-shelf GSE from the oil industry, oil and gas. These tanks are everywhere. You can buy more. They're not expensive. I'll bet you cleaning up the mess probably costs more than replacing these suckers. Anything that has burn marks on it, don't use it. Why? Well, here's the thing. Certain types of steel, right? Oh, there's more parts of the payload bay right there. See that? See the ribbing right there? That's all payload bay. And yeah, there's your, that's the common bulkhead right there. It's just kind of wrapped up and folded over like a taco. That's the payload bay right there, inside of the payload bay. Now, anything that's burnt here, the metal has been heat treated. A lot of the level of heating, hey, Eagle.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Tier 2, 63 months. Thanks, man. The level of, when metal is manufactured, depending on what type of metal it is, when it's manufactured, they're manufactured at different temperatures. The different types of temperatures change what's called the temper on the metal. No, not like losing your temper. I mean, kind of, but if it was manufactured at a certain temperature, like if they were using chromoly steel or mild steel or cold rolled steel or hot rolled steel, the metal is only designed for a certain type of temperature. If the temperature exceeds what the temperature that it was manufactured at, you're going to do what's called tempering the steel. When you temper steel, it gets super, super, super tough, but it hardens, but it also gets very brittle. It'll start cracking, like a graham cracker. It's super hard, but you can break it really easily. Now, I don't think I have to say that. I don't think I have to say that some of this got exposed to really, high temperatures. You see that tidal wave? That tidal wave went right at the methane recondenser. Yep, it went right at it. Oh boy. Yeah, that's not. Actually, your methane recondenser is foreground in this picture. See them right there? You can see the recondensers. Actually, it looks like a lot of the locks went into the flame trench and went into the river, which is crazy. So your liquid oxygen recondenser is over here, and then the methane one is right there. See those grays? That's that tank that had the backside of it blasted. And see, everything gets doused in liquid oxygen. And when that liquid oxygen hits the recondenser, it immediately catches on fire, guys. Look at that. Look. Look. See the recondenser right there? Look what happens when the LOX hits it. Oh, immediate fire. Whoa. That's gnarly, dude. Physics and stuff. Yeah, okay. That's broken. I'm gonna say that's probably broken. Whoa. Hardening's from quenching. Fast shock temp makes it brittle. Tempering is slow change. It's not as much as annealing, but it's kind of a middle ground where you retain the strength and some of the brittleness get some of the brittleness out. But I'm pretty sure cold. So Eagles, I'm just brainstorming here, brother. Very cold, very hot. Very cold, very hot. See, am I in the ballpark, bro? Because you're right. They don't have a recondenser at Massey's. Ryan, what's this thing? Oh, the vaporizer. That's what it is, dude. Sorry, I'm getting my... Also, hi. Also, this thing. What are those things? That looks like a refrigerator compressor right there. It's probably what it is. This sucker right there, because look, dude, once the LOX hits it, boom, immediate explosion. They have an inter-flare stack. But not anymore, they don't. not anymore. And it's gone. Right? So, fellas, all right. The point... well, they don't anymore. The point that I'm trying to get at, dude, is... So, that camera that D was shooting was over here looking this way. It was looking at it this way. That explosion we saw, the LOX tidal wave went this way and hit whatever that is, and it caught on fire. I know what's wrong with it. Ain't got no gas in it. Fight those, it ain't got a lot of nothing in it right now. They have a flare stack at Massey's. They still have one. Yeah. Gotcha, man. Gotcha. Oh, this is all, dude. That's all. Man, if you were standing in this building when that went off, it would have been like Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark. You know, at the very end. Don't look at it! Close your eyes! Don't look at it! You know, it would have been like that. That would have been bad. I think the LOX wave just went in about every direction. Yeah. See, what I'm trying to look at, Jack, is, you know, where the different parts of everything is. Because depending on how the main LOX tank unzipped, it could be very telling as to what happened here. I mean, obviously, the working thesis from SpaceX is that a COPV popped, pressurized the payload bay, blew the transfer tube lines, hit the top of the pressurization, caved in the top of the methane dome. Methane dome exploded.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
What do you call a back doctor from Egypt? A chiropractor.
Ryan, pump into Discord, dude. Or let me give you a call. You tell me what's going on. Hey, buddy.
Hey.
What's up, guys? So, guys, I got Ryan Weber on the line. Longtime listener, first time caller. What's up, man?
Oh, not much. You know.
Yeah, you know, it's fine. It stuff blows up, dude. You guys might know Ryan. Ryan does Flame Trench with me on NSF, and he's a writer for NSF as well. Okay,
so
talk to me. Is it's broken, isn't it?
Well, it's a tad bit broken. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
What likely happened is what I can tell here is they had so they have COPVs along the payload bay.
Yep.
Looks like one of those ruptured. The rupture acted like a shaped charge against the payload bay wall.
Yeah, it blew it out
Basically,
completely.
you can literally see it. Now that wall ripped out, which ripped the header tank transfer tube lines, which run on the windward side of the vehicle.
Yep,
This then instantly mixed liquid oxygen and liquid methane.
That
right
popped.
there.
Yep.
Boom. And then
It
that overpressure caved in the forward dome.
Yep.
which then led to the mixing of the rest and the failure of the common dome, and the whole thing blew up.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, okay. That was my running thesis. Ryan, I've noticed a couple of things about this pop. So from D's footage, right? Right at main methane tank pop, a COPV goes flying. It goes flying, but it still has pressure in it. You can see the cryogenic gas shooting out of it as it goes. Now, like a couple of seconds later in this, dude, there's a couple of COPVs that shoot out the bottom. They are unpressurized. Now, I don't know. I don't know what that means. Just some stuff that we noticed here.
I think it's just the explosion throwing everything all over the place at this point. I mean,
But if those COPVs had pressure in them, dude, they would be whizzing out like a firework. They'd be like, "Skee!" Right? But they're not. So that means, dude, like your entire COPV system like instantly depressurized.
well, the other thing is that it's not like they don't have to charge all of them when they do a static fire here. They only have to charge the ones that they're going to use for like spin start and everything else. They don't have to charge the ones that they need for tank pressurization because they should be able to do it through the QD anyways.
Yeah.
There's a couple of different ways they can do it. Look, it's the payload bay door. Hey, it opened.
It did open. It did open. Success.
Success. I will say they got lucky with this explosion because you can see how most of it goes out towards the Rio Grande and not towards the methane farm. I think they got a little bit lucky on that one.
That's what I was trying to say, dude. It looks like the locks went forward into the Rio Grande and back down the payload, down like the ramp. Like it went left, right. Some of it obviously went towards the methane thing. And what was that thing that caught on fire that we saw? They look like
Vaporizer.
The vaporizer. Yeah.
So basically, you're running methane in there to vaporize the methane to then repress the tanks.
Yeah.
So that broke, which means you had methane spewing out, and it caught fire. That's what basically stayed on fire for several hours after the explosion.
Because that's pulling all the heat out of that methane, so those things are super hot. Right?
Yeah, and then it just instantly ignites, and you. The good thing is they burned off the methane. That's the kind of plus, rather than just dumping a bunch of methane into the atmosphere. They just burned it off.
Yeah, so. Yeah. You can see up here that it's being burned off up in this area. See where these dark clouds are? That's a lot of methane being burned off.
They only had like 40 or 50 tons on board.
Still, man, it shows the characteristic energy there, dude.
There's like, this thing can hold like 350 tons of it.
I was telling Chad a little bit earlier, if this thing had a full tank of methane, there'd be no Massies left. There would be nothing. It'd be a big crater. It looked like a tall boy bomb hit it.
I think the stand itself will be fine. Even with the locks and fire, I think that the structure should be fine. Of course, there's a couple of stuff you're gonna have to replace there. Obviously, the gantry. Well, that's a lost cause.
Yeah, I would just be ripping lines out pretty much all the way back to the vaporizer.
Those charred tanks, they'll just swap them out. They'll swap out the vaporizers. The subcoolers should be fine. They're like 3/4 inch stainless. There's gonna be a lot of lines replacement. That bunker's gotta get replaced. The one thing we don't see a lot of is we don't see much of the aft section, because I think the aft section shot down into the trench and possibly embedded itself into or at least the thrust puck and engines embedded themselves into the deflector.
So, Ryan, you want to see something interesting? Right before I noticed you pop in. So check this out. I'm zooming in. We're to the right of the pad here. And I'm pretty sure this is what's left of the nose cone, because you could see those transfer tube lines that you were talking about, and they are in fact ruptured. I mean,
a little bit.
It might be from hitting the ground, but also take a peek a little bit closer. Look, what do you see?
Oh, look at the Y split. Yeah.
How did that get there?
When an explosion happens, EJ, things just go everywhere.
Well, I kind of agree with you that the Raptor in the engine section probably went down. It's probably sitting down underneath, like down there somewhere.
I think there's a couple of pipes of that deflector that are gonna have to get replaced, because I have a feeling there's a couple of Raptor engines embedded in them.
Yeah, the engines,
not too hard to do, though.
engines are probably down here. That's what Ryan and I are
Yeah.
saying. It blew up. That's what happened. Yeah. Yeah. Now, Cirrus, we know it blew up, but I'm wondering how that exploded like that, because the explosion, that piece is a piece that's down. It's down the very bottom of the thrust structure. That's a sea level Raptor transfer pipe. So it has a Y pipe. It's wide in, right? And Ryan, one of them goes to that transfer tube, right? And the other one goes to the main tank. One of those things goes to the headers, and the other one goes to the main. That was all below the explosion. The explosion happened up here somewhere, and that piece would have been down there, and somehow it got blown sideways.
What looks like happened is that initial explosion caused, of course, the nose cone to just kind of blow apart and go into all different directions. But the rest of the vehicle then fell down on itself, and then the secondary explosion blew, and it blew like a directed energy, like it blew out towards the Rio Grande, and then the rest of it just kind of blew towards the sides, just kind of went path of least resistance of wherever it was.
Because I
mean,
got a 95-month resub. Because I found some parts. We were looking around for parts. I think next to the water suppressor systems, I'm pretty sure that's part of the payload bay right there. It's right on the screen, dead center now.
That might be.
I think that's the stringers of the giveaway. It's the inner wall of the payload bay. And then over here, next to the vaporizer, that looks like the
looks like part of one of the domes.
Yeah,
one of them.
Yeah.
That might be the aft. No, that might be the aft.
I think that's the.
I think that's the aft dome with the stringer setup. I think that's the aft dome.
It's one of the really reinforced parts, guys. So this is where, like, the bottom of a fuel tank or the top of a fuel tank, or in some cases both. Yeah, that's what
the forward dome went flying. You watch, you can literally see it go wee.
It's in the river somewhere, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think it's in the river.
Because now here's another thing that we noticed. There's over here. Now we're slightly north of where that in the picture where that Y pipe is. There's that.
I think that's part of a Raptor. I don't know. I mean, that could be part of the Pez. That might be an electric motor for the Pez. It's hard to tell though. It's kind of
these dude, you know it's a bad one when you cannot figure out what parts of the vehicle are. That was a nasty explosion. And then what's up?
Do the Mythbuster style, walk up, grab a piece, go, well, there's your problem.
There's your problem. Also, see, the reason why yeah, right? Those are your favorite right there. The reason why we think that the explosion kind of directed towards the river and towards this ramp right here going that way is because the transfer tubes are right there. These are
that could also be a flat motor too.
Yeah.
And those are somewhere around here.
Dude, I would love to go Pickens. Like I would,
right?
I don't need I would love to go Pickens and be like, yo, I found a piece. Yo, this is where this piece went. You know.
I will say this. And when SpaceX released that update, it was like right at 3.
Yeah.
At 3:05 or so. They even stated in that update that Massey's wasn't safe yet. I'm like, I wonder really how much methane they're still leaking, or if they really understand. I assume they're going to send in drones and everything. Just it's a dangerous situation to walk into there right now.
I wouldn't go in there. There's a lot of stuff that's still pressurized.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the other part of it is you're only seeing the methane side that's destroyed. I don't really know the status of the LOX and LN2 sides. Those are the other ones that are just kind of.
So Felix has another picture here, dude. And here, take a look. Bottom
left. You can
left.
see some of the LOX right there. Doesn't look too happy either.
It looks like the vaporizers over here also caught on fire because whatever that vertical tank is, it's struggling.
Yeah, that's I think that's an LN2 tank, and the vaporizers right, or it may just be gaseous oxygen. I don't remember off the top of my head, but those vaporizers are to help pressurize those LOX tanks. And that internal flare stack all the way up at the top left corner, right there, the one that's all the way off to the side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's an internal flare stack. So you don't see a flame, but that's where they burn off the methane.
Oh, it's covered, and
Yeah.
then it just vents out the
Yeah.
bottom. I see it.
So you don't get the same thing of I guess the what was it, the methane ignite? If it was methane, it'd be igniting a flare stack, right?
Yeah. They learned the lesson from that one. They learned their lesson from that one for sure.
I will
dude.
say this.
What's up?
They are lucky they hadn't connected that extra methane tank in yet and filled it.
Yeah, that would have.
That extra horizontal is supposed to be a methane expansion. If that had been connected
crater
and they were leaking methane, that holds. I don't even. I think what is it? The cubic size. I actually have the size of those things. Those are 950 cubic meters.
So, fellas, you want
volume.
You want some scale? Look at the truck. Look at the pickup truck, and look at the tank. Look at the car. Look at that Tesla. That's a Model 3 by my mouse cursor. That's not small. That's almost as big as the damn ship. Actually, it's probably bigger. Because, yeah. See, so Ryan, that's very interesting. I didn't know about that tank over there.
That's going to be a methane. My guess is that's going to be part of the planned Block 3 upgrades, which they might just do those anyways.
I mean,
at this point.
I would. Yeah, it's interesting. Do you think they would? Do you think they were going to put that there for so they could do longer duration burns?
It could be. I don't. They would have to upgrade the water systems a decent amount to do that. I think.
Well, I think
which is not impossible to do it in, but at this point,
I think they got a good excuse at this point to do that.
Well,
you know?
the one thing that kind of stinks for them at this point is okay. Now you got to rebuild it, and you've got 2 Block 2 ships left, and the QD's changing. So you got to rebuild it using the Block 2 QD, and then change it again if you're still flying 37, 38. Which, I mean, it's not a Block 2 problem. When I first saw it, I was like, "Oh man, Block 2's cursed." And when I looked into it more after I had some time at work last night, I'm like, "This is just an accident. It sucks. Like it really does.
This is just bad luck.
It's an accident, though." And everyone's going, "Well, how does a COPV just explode?" Parts go bad. I mean, parts go bad. They fail. I mean, you know how much I deal with bad parts at work, and then it's like, oh, that part only lasted a month. What the heck? And then you have to change it again. It happens. Or like a hydraulic pump is working all night long. It's been working for a while. It gets to the gate, the pilots turn it on, and they're in the middle of boarding, and it just dies. Yeah. Things happen. I mean, it stinks, and it's an energetic event, and it's a failure. It really stinks that it happened, but it is, and I think it's truly just an accident.
I think you think someone dropped the tank or something? Like even a little bump to a COPV, guys, could delaminate it.
Someone could have dropped the tank. It could have been manufactured wrong. There are many different reasons to why this could have happened. But one way or the other, it would likely. I'm of the boat almost, and it's not a certainty because SpaceX hasn't confirmed it, but it seems highly likely that's what caused it. I really don't know what else causes those transfer tubes to separate and you mix that much.
Yeah.
I don't know what else fails.
So our hypothesis here over on my end, dude, was that there's one or two things. Well, the first one was what you said. Exactly what you just said. It's just a fluke thing. Somebody dropped a tank. Could be QA, could be QC. I had a theory on that, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But the second one could be that they were doing a different testing regime. If they were doing a different testing regime, that could screw with the transfer tubes. But why? They've never had problems with the transfer tubes, right? But you never know. Maybe they were trying something different. Or it could be, chat says it could be the ULA sniper.
Someone put a conspiracy theory that someone might have shot the ship, and I'm like, I mean, I would just say this. Going from the outside, looking at that heat shield, you would have to know exactly where that COPV is and exactly where to hit it to make that shot.
You could do that with a thermal scope.
I mean, I guess you could do it with a thermal scope, but it's still, you still have to do it.
I mean, It's a really good shot. If someone took it, it's a really good shot. I mean, somebody could have done it from Mexico, man. Anyway, so yeah, it could be one of the other dudes. Now, I'm Ryan. My gut's telling me that this is just bad luck. Now, here's my theory, dude. You hear me out here. So it's no lie that SpaceX is scaling, right? They are scaling. They're scaling up. They're hiring like crazy. SpaceX is like 15,000 strong right now. That they're all over the place. They're scaling up like crazy. In that drastic and rapid expansion, because they're, Elon's been pretty, vocal about wanting to mass produce these things. In that, do you think that in that scaling, scaling, while you bring on all these people, you're inviting more QA problems to happen because you're training a new workforce, right? Like, you could run into QA problems that way because people haven't learned. They haven't had the experiences of past SpaceX employees, right? And if you're scaling at the rate that they've scaled at, right, there's no way you're going to be able to transfer the knowledge that quickly, right? So I think that if it is indeed a QC problem, it's something that will work itself out. This is just kind of a byproduct of scaling everything, because that's what they've done. They've scaled everything up.
It could be. There's always that possibility. I know what it's like to have to bring new people in who don't understand an airplane. You got to teach them how everything works and everything else, new mechanics. I wholeheartedly understand how that works. And you're in a fast-paced environment, having to go through and get stuff done. Things got to fly. It's an environment in which you can push, make a mistake, keep pushing on, thinking it might not mean anything, and it ends up in a ship going kaboom.
It ends up with this.
It ends up with this.
Oh man, dude, that is a violent explosion. Holy crap!
Thank God there wasn't that much methane on board.
Dude, I keep telling people, if that thing had a full methane load, it would have looked like the Tirpitz all over again.
To answer the question we've always gotten over the years, ladies and gentlemen, this is why they load only the methane they absolutely need. Because if something like this happens, they don't want a full tank of methane, and then it all goes boom.
Yep. If it all went boom, here, hold on. Let me find the fjords. Where did this happen? Okay, here. Ready? Here, hold on. So, if this thing was full of methane, it would have, here, let's zoom in. So you guys, here, let me, zoom in. It's over here somewhere. Let's look around for it. You see that? You see that little crease right there? That's a crater from a tall boy. So in World War II, the German battleship Tirpitz was moored right here, and the Brits wanted it dead because it was doing what's called fleet in being. A little bit of a history lesson here. The Germans had the Kriegsmarine up here, right? They had them up here. So it's called fleet in being. Just the presence of them being up here in the fjords, right? The Allies would have had problems moving supplies to the Soviet Union to support the Eastern Front. So the Brits, specifically, Winston Churchill himself was like, yes, I need this thing dead. We need it dead so we can support the Eastern Front. So the British developed a bomb, they had a big 11,000-pound bomb. That's a 5,000-kilogram weapon.
The earthquake bomb.
Yeah, yeah. And they dropped a couple of them on the Tirpitz. And you could still see some of the craters where this thing came down and left a couple of marks. Like right there. See? One missed. The other one didn't.
They should have just sent TF-38 after it.
So the end result of that was this. It was enough to blow a battleship in half. Almost, well, not almost. It almost did, but yeah. Yeah, that was not great. that it didn't end well. It did not great for the people on board. Kind of good for the Brits though. So if Starship had gone off with a full methane tank there, it would have been enough to basically like dropping a tall boy. Actually, tall boy probably would have been less energy. There would be no pad left. There would be nothing left. There'd just be a big hole in the ground like in the fjords. Yeah.
It might have been the equivalent of Yamato's magazine going. I don't know though. Well,
Yeah.
that was a pretty big one.
Yeah. I thought you'd appreciate that reference. But anyway, yeah, you know. So now, where do we go from here, guys? Ryan, here's the thing. Look, okay, so two things are prevalent in my head here. Okay, I don't think this is that big of a deal. I think the question is what you said already. Do you rebuild it for block 2 and then switch it over to block 3? Or do you just say screw it and build the whole pad over for block 3? Now, personally, if it was up to me, I think they should build it for 2.
You already have the ship. The other part of that is well, talking to some other people, looking at some of this stuff. Depending on how long it takes to get the parts they need for everything, they can take a lot of the contractors they've got that work on Pad A and Pad B. They can shove them over here, clean up, get it all done. 2 months to get it all cleaned up and back in operating order. I think 2 months, 3 at the most if they're having issues getting parts in. I would say, but I'd say 2 months flying within 3 or 4. The thing is once they get this thing up and running, 37 is just. They will finish 37. They're going to do its heat shield. They're going to get its flaps on. They're going to get the engines installed. They're going to do every little thing other than get a static fire done for 37. And then 38, well, it needs a cryo. I don't know how the cryo stand is right now.
Yeah, we really need to get a picture of that thing. I got a kind of a... Yeah, you can kind of see it over there.
Yeah, it's down there. There's that part. So that needs a cryo. 37 needs a static fire. So that stand has to get fixed before 37 fires. 39 hasn't even got its ablative yet started on its nose cone. So it's a long ways away from ever even needing massies for that matter. It's at least 6 to 7 months minimum till it ever needs massies. The biggest. So I mean. Get it fixed within 2 months. Get your last 2 flights in to Pad A. I think they might even be able to get both flights in before Block 3 is even ready. The other part of this is that 17 definitely isn't flying anymore. It's going to be 16 and 15-2, and that's probably it. They may not catch 16. I don't know. It's up to them. They may still catch it just to get the data at that point, but they're not going to refly 16 at this rate. They'll just scrap it. Same thing with 17.
Oh, man, that's... No.
It's so cool. Such a cool explosion.
Yeah, dude, it's pretty righteous. Do you think they want a second test site to prevent these delays? Now, I don't know if they need it. Yeah, I'm not sure if they need a second test site, Aqualex, to be honest with you. Now, Ryan, I heard a theory that was floated to me from a guy. Actually, I don't know where I read this, to be 100% honest with you. I was just perusing X in my bedridden state because I threw my back out on Monday.
That's fun.
Yeah, no, it was a good time. So,
Yeah.
I went back and looked at pictures of the umbilical here. That umbilical, as far as I can tell, and a lot of this paraphernalia came from the suborbital pad launch complex. A lot of it did. Now, if it came from the suborbital pad launch complex, that means they have another umbilical around. So it might not be as hard to rebuild this if you have a spare launch pad sitting around at Sanchez somewhere. Obviously not the Massey's transport stand, right? But
that was Zach who pointed it out. They do have an extra QD in there. Here's the other thought I had too. Say that QD is maybe rusted or maybe not really that good. Get 38 cryoed and then take the QD off of the cryo stand and stick it on the static fire stand because you gotta change that QD anyways for block 3.
Yeah.
So there's your extra QD if you need it. I give him 2 months to probably fix it. We'll see.
Yeah, that's the point that I was.
Biggest.
What's up?
The other biggest question is Booster Block 3. How did they damage 18.1? The other part of that is the new booster thrust sim that they're building looks like it got singed a bit. I hope that didn't get damaged either, because then that pushes back Block 3 a booster for a bit. So let's just hope that didn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe. Guys, the point that I'm trying to make is even Ryan, Ryan is very realistic when it comes to the deadlines here. Even he's saying this is not that big of a deal. SpaceX has had test stands explode, guys. It happens. Now,
I said 4.
yeah. Now, actually, Ryan, here, I want you to noodle on this. Consider this. I saw RGV post this. Massey's, this test site that you see right there, took 2.5 months to make from scratch. Think about that for a second.
To be fair, the image that was taken right there was after they had spent about 3 or 4 months building all the slurry walls and everything else. But it withstands that they went from the mount area to digging out the trench and laying that, building the flame deflector and everything. They did that about 2.5, 3 months. Now, granted, that is starting from scratch, but there is the whole thing of first you got to clean everything up, and you got to do it safely. This is all mangled steel and everything else. This isn't something you can just rush. You also have to be careful about what you're disconnecting. You have to make sure you're not gonna all of a sudden release a bunch of methane somewhere if it's holed up somewhere or something like that. There's a few things, precautions to take, but once they got it a little cleared out, I don't think it'll take too long to fix it. You just got to get the parts.
Yeah, dude, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not going to take that long, guys. This explosion, and don't get me wrong, I'm not running cover for SpaceX or anything. You think I'd be showing this if I was, right? Like, I'm not trying to recover for SpaceX. I really don't think this is going to take that long to fix. And I also really don't think it's that big of a deal because Block 2 is going out anyway. Ryan, I think you're absolutely right. I think this was just a stupid mistake. I think this has, it's unfortunate, but I think it has nothing to do with the Block 2 design. The NTSB and OSHA will have to finish their investigation. NTSB and OSHA?
NTSB is not involved in this.
I was going to say, Craig.
Neither is the FAA. This was not a licensed activity. This was a ground test. The FAA is not involved. The NTSB, no. I don't see how the NTSB would be involved in that. They weren't involved in SN4. OSHA, I mean... Not really. What's OSHA going to look at? Everything was protocols were followed. There was no one on site. There's no one near it. No one got hurt. There was a cloud of tile dust that kind of went through the air, but I don't know if you saw the radar return on that.
Oh yeah, it was not great.
But I mean, no, that. Every time I'm gonna be looking at this explosion for a long time. It's so cool.
You know what I just noticed? So, if you look, I noticed where this picture is. If you look to the left, behind the behind the water system paraphernalia and behind the internal flare, you could see LOX splash out of the flame deflector. Oh my god! Yo, look, it splashes out of the deflector. Holy crap, that was an image.
I honestly think the cloud of LOX helped a bit.
Dude, that's what I was saying. It probably snuffed out the flames. The problem is if there was anything, LOX, you doused your entire test stand with LOX. That's really bad for it.
I'm just going to say this. They're lucky they didn't cause a massive wildfire.
Yeah,
really.
Unbelievable.
They are. I think the LOX, as much as LOX cause a lot of things to be flammable, I think the LOX actually prevented a lot of extra stuff happening.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. It snuffed it out, man. The LOX, the tidal wave of LOX snuffed out a lot of the flames, that's just weird to think about because LOX does not do that. Like, that's not really what it's supposed to do, but it did. That's crazy. I think it snuffed out a lot of it, Tyler. Yeah.
It's one of the coolest explosions I've seen in a while. It really is. It's so cool. Actually,
a good question from Ari over in YouTube, dude. Do you think they can close the flame trench trapdoors so they can get the stand off?
If there's nothing on the tracks, I don't see why not.
I mean,
as long as it's not sitting on the work platform itself. Their thing is they may have to get a crane in and remove the gantry before they do that. I don't know if it's resting on the work platform or not, but there's that chance. Just kind of get it out of the way, then they can get the stand off, get the stand, either bring it to Sanchez or park it over at Massey's and work on it. One of the two. I don't know what they'll do. They may roll it to Sanchez, which that'd be a interesting rollback to a video camera.
Right. Man, that thing got wrecked.
It's a little singed. It's a little toasty.
Yeah.
I need some TLC. Should be good though.
Yeah, guys, and I know, like, that's what Ryan. I'm actually super pumped that you came to the kind of the same conclusion independently. This does suck, but it doesn't suck as much as people think. This was just a stupid fluke.
It could have been so much worse.
Yeah, this could have
been. If they had a lot more methane on board.
Dude, can you imagine if that thing popped during like cryo loading, like when it was on the pad?
All I'm gonna say is like everyone. Of course, I was on the Raptor site. We had someone asked. It's like, oh, what happened with a full stack? I'm like, the problem is with a full stack is you don't know how much of that actually would ignite. The problem is with a full stack detonation is depending on how it happens.
Yeah.
Would depend on how much of that methane ignites, and even if like 35% of that methane were to ignite, it'd be one of the largest non-nuclear explosions in man-made explosions in human history.
Oh boy,
it would, and not only that explosion would have sent shrapnel into the tank farm and probably set the tank farm off, which means all that's left is a massive crater, like what was it? Flight 3N1, I think it was.
Yeah, right. So, a couple more questions. So, Neo, do you think the concrete platform needs to be ripped up? I think the concrete's fine. That's reinforced concrete. It ain't going nowhere.
It's not as big of a pressure wave as you think it is because it's a mix of liquid methane, liquid oxygen. It's not like you set off like 50 tons of ANFO or anything.
Right. Maybe heat. Doesn't heat make concrete stronger or something? I mean, it depends. It depends on type of concrete, I guess.
Well, it heated and then it got insta-cooled. I mean,
yeah.
That's the one question mark for some of the stuff around there is that it got heated and then insta-cooled by the pool of LOX.
That's what I'm saying. It basically got tempered and quenched like super fast. I wouldn't be touched. I'd be just rip it out, just replace it. Pipes are cheap. Pipes and tanks are cheap. This is all off the shelf stuff from the oil and gas industry. Just replace it. Like, why even take the risk? The amount of time you'd take testing these components to make sure that they're still good, you could have just replaced it and had an operable test stand.
Oh, I didn't even see in that picture. You can see a water leak. I'm not kidding. Pull up the picture and go towards the three main tanks. There's actually a spray of water. You can no, down there. The other corner. You see the spray?
Where? Oh, yep.
Yeah. It's just spraying out.
I think that pipe might be kinked because it looks like a piece of Starship landed on it and broke it. Holy
I just
crap.
noticed that.
Dude, maybe that put the fire out, and I'm not even kidding. Well,
or at least help put some of it out.
Well, guys, see, and this is the kind of thing that Ryan's talking about. Ryan, you said that the pad ain't safe. Well, if that water is leaking out with that kind of pressure, that means the nitrogen tanks with their sound suppressor system, that means the nitrogen tank is still on. It's still pressurized.
Well, I mean, the vertical tank they have for the water there, that's liquid nitrogen. They basically take liquid nitrogen, shunt it through a set of heat exchangers, which constantly builds up pressure, and then they build up pressure to those tanks probably like to 200 psi, and those then get shunted into the water deflector and then sprays out.
Yeah,
That's
it's
basically how the
a-
system works.
yeah,
In
gas
layman's terms.
gas actuated sound suppressor.
Which is basically how the Pad B is going to work on with 1,000,000 gallons of water.
Yeah, it's just that but bigger. But yeah, I'd be rebuilding all this. I wouldn't trust any of the steel. I would just say bulldoze the damn thing and replace it, but
Recycle it.
yeah, it's scrap. But it's not gonna, like I said, this isn't a big deal. It's not gonna last. Like this is a bump in the road, guys. It's not as bad. I mean, it looks bad. It's a lot worse than it looks. It does look pretty bad. That was a hell of an explosion, man. Dude, right out the flame bucket. I can't believe that. Look at the way it's swirling out of the flame bucket. That's crazy, dude.
It's so cool. I'm just sorry. Every time I see the explosions, D did such an amazing job.
Yeah,
with
D
that.
did amazing. This is just, oh my goodness.
So glad D was there for that.
Yeah.
Or there were a lot of people that were watching this thing. And also, I'm glad everyone's okay. Because
Yeah.
I mean, when you get an explosion like this with shrapnel flying everywhere, it's yeah.
Can we have this on
Yeah.
one of the mission control monitors? I don't think I want to do that, man.
It's this year has been bad for Starship. Like,
It's just
dear
some
God.
of these are just bad luck, dude. Like 7,
This
the resonance gun.
2025
Yeah.
2025 is just it's not Starship's year. It's just not
It's
at
right.
all. 4 failures in a row. I mean, this wasn't even in flight either. It's just not
It's all right, man. It's all right. It's like I said, man, they're trying to scale. SpaceX is trying to do a lot of different things at once. It's going to take some time to get it right.
I mean, the harmonic resonance thing is one of those things where it's just like, oh, well, that's a problem now. And then the Raptor fail thing on 8, it's like, of course that's found now out of all things. It wasn't found in Block 1. It's just kind of like one of those. Then the leak on 9 is like, it's just frustrating.
Bad luck, man.
And then here it's just like, oh,
Dude, 8 was a fluke from what I can surmise, dude. Like that. So SpaceX said a motor ejected out the back, and I mean, I'm inclined to believe them. They said they had a mechanical failure or something. That's really
hardware
nice.
failure.
Yeah, hardware failure. That's really nice. That's a really nice way of saying it ejected itself out the back. So that tells me, dude, that somebody didn't tag something out. Somebody didn't torque something down. Or the motor didn't. The motor was not.
Oh, this is space. I'm in space.
It was not tested and quality controlled. Like the QC. Somebody screwed up in QC. That's what that tells me. Something. It's just a crappy mistake. And then this is just bad luck, dude. Like straight up, dude. Elon needs like a 4-leaf clover or something. Hey, Chuck gifted a sub to Starship Bomber. Okay. Soapbox with a 40-month resub. Thank you. QC has been a big issue. It's an issue because they're scaling off, Leave. SpaceX is bolstering their workforce something fierce because they're trying to mass produce these things, dude.
There does come, and this is me as someone who works as a mechanic, who you try to bring in new people and everything. There does come a point at which if a lot of these are really QC issues, then you do need to step back and take a look at things. Like, you need to do what NASA did. They took a step back, and upped their QC, made sure things were better, and did all this stuff. The question becomes: is SpaceX at that point? I mean, whether or not this was a QC problem or not, does SpaceX get to that point where you go, okay, like dial it back, like maybe a notch, and let's take a look at things. Let's keep going, but let's not like try to push as hard and just figure a few things out, then kind of go back at it. Maybe come up with some different procedures or something. Do you get to that point? Like,
now, that's a good point. Now, here, let me ask you this: do you think they're using these they're using these tests so they can kind of get people up to speed, knowing that they might fail, and they're trying to do mitigations to make sure that it's fine, right? And do you think that point of taking a step back is when they switch to Block 3? Right?
This is space.
Like,
I'm in space.
dude, we all know, like, Block 3 is a little ways out. It's not like they were going to launch, Flight 10 one month, Flight 11 the next month, and then Flight 12 with Block 3 a month after that, right? There was obviously going to be a little bit of time. I think that...
Block
What's that?
3, but in Flight 13, because Flight 10 would have been 36, Flight 11 would have been 37, Flight 12 would have been 38, and then Flight 13 would have been 39.
Yeah, exactly. I think that the time that they're going to kind of sit back is when they retool for Block 3. Like, I think that's what's going to happen.
I think they should. They really should, because you're
getting
to that point in the program where you want to be getting these things through re-entry. You want to be getting your payload deployment. You want to be getting your demonstrations in orbit. You need to get to your propellant transfer. If you really want to make these Mars goals, you got to get to this stuff, and this isn't gonna help you get there.
Well, they found a way not to do it, man.
Yeah, right.
I mean, with iterative, the only failure is if you didn't learn something from it. I think they learned something about COPVs. To be honest with you,
they've already learned a lot about COPVs.
Yeah, it's weird.
SpaceX and COPVs don't go together very well.
Yeah, well, they order more than anybody, dude. Still can't believe that the freaking vaporizer just going instantly, like insta-flame, just gone. Like, that's crazy. Unreal. What, dude? It's like eye candy. I can't stop looking at it.
It's amazing, and it's just me. Oh man, if I were to set a date, like it isn't even a ballpark date, this early on for Flight 10 with 37, October.
Yeah,
is what I think. End of September, October.
Yeah,
is what I'm thinking. I mean, it's hard to tell right now because we don't really know what's damaged, what's not. Once they really start doing work and we get flyover images on what they're doing to Massey's, then we'll really understand.
Yeah.
Like if they start doing stuff with the flame deflector, then that kind of gives you an idea of what they're gonna have to do. The other part to this too is with the COPVs is they did say there's no commonality between this and Falcon 9, so Falcon 9's good. Mm-hmm. But I would say this is they're lucky this happened on a ship and not on a booster static fire.
Yep. Well, the booster's awesome. So,
it makes me wonder if there really is a commonality between all those COPVs. They're gonna have to tear in and look at all the COPVs on everything. If they find out maybe there was a manufacturing defect or something along those lines, then they do have to go look. I mean, I think you would. It becomes a question if they have
to. It really depends. Dude, my gut's telling me that they... Like, okay, so you got to think about this a little bit logically, right? So if you think about it just using some deductive reasoning here, these COPVs had a problem, right? Is there any indication that SpaceX has ever changed the COPV supplier for between Block 1 and Block 2? I think they're using the same bottles, to be honest. I keep seeing the same, 20-foot long bottle that they have. So if they didn't change the supplier, right, I think we can rule that one out. If they didn't change the supplier, that means that this could have A, been a bad batch, or B, a QC problem, or C, filling up the tanks at a different time. Now, Mutter, you asked in the chat, I saw that, you asked over in Twitch chat, maybe they'll switch the time to fill the cryogenic tanks. Maybe they fill them up first. No, maybe. It's possible, dude. I'm much, that would mean that their testing regime was different this time and it caused them to pop. What? My guts.
I don't know why that wouldn't made a difference. Because
yeah, right.
With Falcon, the COPVs are in the tanks. Starship, they're not. They're in the payload bay.
Right.
They're outside of the tanks.
Yep.
I don't think changing any of the load stuff is going to do anything. I don't think that's an issue. There could have been an accidental overpressure. Who even knows? I mean, but the problem is the burst pressure on those suckers is probably 20,000 pounds.
Yeah, the COPVs can hold a lot. they're usually like above 10,000 psi or something, guys. It's nuts.
And
Go ahead.
no, I wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah, YouTube chat's happy to see you.
Oh.
Does carbon fiber suffer something similar to metal fatigue? If you drop a COPV, you could unwind the fibers, you could crack the fibers, and you could delaminate.
Delam it.
Yep.
Mhm.
Oh, that's absolutely a thing. And when COPVs pop, they pop like fireworks. Like fireworks. Yeah, it like grunt birthday party. You know, like
Oh, great birthday party. Oh yeah.
yeah, you know. I know you'd see. I said that because I know you'd know that. You know what that means. Anyway, like in a submarine. Oh, too soon, Andrew. Too soon. Jesus, man.
Oh man.
On the anniversary too. That's messed up. But then again, I kind of was like, Ocean Gate. You know, Phones Esther last. Do you like the Bronco? Does what? The car? The truck? Yeah. Yeah, those are cool. I think. Yeah, those are neat. Where can I find this explosion video? Here, what do you... Jeeve, do you want real time or do you want the slow-mo? Because I got both. DWise Cinema has got you covered. It is Panda Man, yeah. Here. Guys, make sure you go over there and make sure to tell D that D's doing awesome work. It's a pretty good shot. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Anyway. All right. Point is, guys, you know, down for a couple months, maybe 3 months at best.
Hopefully. We're going to hopefully. I'm not going to... that's my prediction, but yeah, obviously you never know. There could be more damage than we can even see here.
I mean, dude, even if they level the entire pad, like just basically bulldoze everything, take off all the tanks, scrap them, and get new ones, I don't think the pad's going to be down for that long, or the test stand's going to be down for that long.
I just wonder how long it's going to be till it's safe to go in there. We'll see how many. We'll see how many days it takes.
It's Texas. Get a guy with an M82 and just shoot the tanks to depressurize them. What are you going to do? Cause an explosion?
Another one?
What are you gonna do? Cause an explosion? Like, oh no, the test stand blew up again. Do you think they'll just outright move to V3 ships with Raptor 3? No, I think they'll finish off this stuff, Baron. I don't think it's going to be. It's not going to take long to rebuild that pad.
The thing that's going to stink is once you rebuild it, you have to recommission it too. That's the fun part about it too.
Yeah, you know, if you
hey, they should have kept around Kevin's favorite ship for that.
Ship 20? When?
Ship 26, you mean?
No.
I certified a pad.
I understand ship 26. I'm saying if you're using the old style umbilical, get ship 20. Get ship 20. Oh, it doesn't. Damn. I was gonna say get it out of mothballs.
The QD is a ring too low.
Oh, that's right. Nah, dude, put it on jack stands. It'll be fine. Put it on jack stands. It'll work. Why not?
It's also got Raptor 1.5s on it. If I remember correctly, the header, it's still got its methane header at the common dome, if I remember correctly, for 20, because it's a suborbital ship with RVACs. Yeah, the new design was put into ship 24 and up. That's why everyone that calls 20 a block 1, it's not a block 1, it's like a block 0.75.
Yeah.
Because it's a suborbital ship with RVACs.
Yeah.
It's
yeah, never mind.
No.
I mean, you might be able.
Who knows what the?
You might be able to get away with it, you know, like. Saying.
Who knows what the inside of those tanks look like too? That thing's been sitting in the Rocket Garden. It was moved to the Rocket Garden on May 11th, 2022. So 3 years it's just sat there.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch that.
In the Texas, South Texas atmosphere.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch that. If it's not hooked up to like residual pressurized GSE.
It is. They keep it pressurized, but still, it's.
Could be fun.
I still would. It could be fun.
Could be fun, you know.
No, 37 will be the one to recommission it at some point.
Yeah, I think so. Hey, Wolf, $10 super chat for a mental health fund. Thanks. I need back health right now. Anyway, Ryan, thanks for the insight, man. Thanks for popping in, dude. I appreciate it.
I'm gonna get some food before. I'm gonna help Alex with one thing real quick, and then go to work tonight.
Yeah, there you go, man. All right,
See
guys.
you, Twitch chat.
That was Ryan Weber. Ryan's a writer for NSF, and he sometimes is on Flame Trench with me, does commentary on NSF videos just like me. Ryan, thanks for coming in, dude. I'll see you later.
Yeah, pleasure. See ya.
See you, buddy. That was cool having Ryan on, right? That's pretty sweet. Mr. EJ, I specifically meant the Bronco that I sent you a picture of. Oh, what? You linking something that's not what I'm talking about? Well, sister, that never happens. Yeah, that Bronco is sweet. I want it. Yeah. So, I'm very happy that Ryan said it's not going to take too long, because that was my gut last night. I was sitting there cracking jokes in chat. Well, like Jack was on stream and he's like, "Oh, this is terrible. This sucks." I'm like, "Fix it. Whatever. It's fine. Don't worry about it. No big deal. No big deal. It's fine." Nice to know that EJ lived, but the ship died. Hey, I wasn't there. I haven't been down to Starbase since Flight 8, dude. This ain't me. You can't blame me for this. Morgan Wyatt Khan's comments. I've read what he said, Baron.
This is Space. I'm
That
in
tells
space.
me that it's gonna take some time for them to get these problems sorted. And if anything, all these problems that he's been talking about will get sorted very quickly. There is more now. There's not more now. My back disagrees with you, William. Just Space, thanks for the 5 years of subscription. I appreciate it. So there is some other news real quick. I saw you guys saying AX4 got pushed, which is unfortunate. It was scheduled for Sunday, but it pushed to next week. It happens. Also, a little bit of a gear change here. Check that out. You guys know what that is? It is an SRB. But speaking of overwrapped pressure vessels, it's not overwrapped, it's just wrapped. That is a BOLE booster that Northrop Grumman is testing, dude. A booster obsolescence and life expectancy booster. That is a Block 2 booster for SLS. That's a Block 2 booster for SLS. They're testing it right now, dude. The Block 2 boosters for SLS increase SLS's payload capacity by a good amount. The reason why, and this is the reason why it's called booster obsolescence and life expectancy, is because these BOLE boosters are the boosters that SLS is going to use after they run out of shuttle casings. The boosters that SLS flies with right now are left over from the shuttle program. Test is set for June 26th at 1 p.m. All right. Am I tripping, or is the nozzle longer? No, it just doesn't have the heat blanket that's right here. That's why it looks longer, because you see the whole nozzle. The heat blanket would go to about here, about where my mouse cursor is. The test is set for June 26th. Yeah, this booster is not, so the shuttle casings, guys, are reusable casings, and they're made out of steel. These ones are not. These are single-use casings, non-reusable. It's not an RSRB. These are single-use casings that are made out of carbon composite. Carbon fiber boosters, baby. This thing's got some kick behind it. It is absurdly light for what it is. So, yeah, there you go, man. Got some Block 2 SLS hardware right there. That's pretty good. Muted, but this happened yesterday too. What? A lot of oh yeah, the SPMT. Nice. Yeah, I saw that. 200 viewers here. Grats. First time I've seen that many. Oh, dude, we do have 200 on YouTube. Holy crap, they're catching you, Twitch. How many do I have on Twitch right now? Oh, no, nope, no, they're not. Nope, no, they're not. A surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. They'll never beat us. Probably the most powerful single-engine rocket ever made. 14,000 kilonewtons of thrust behind this bad boy. About 3 million pounds of thrust come out of the back of that thing. Why Block 2 hardware? Aren't they going to kill the program after Artemis 3? Yeah, but you really think that was going to happen? You really think that's going to happen? You really think that was going to happen? Anyway, yeah, dude, that's cool. Over 200 viewers. If you're over on the YouTube side of things, thank you very much for watching, guys. I appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Twitch, you know, Twitch is always going to be my home, but YouTube is cool. We like YouTube. AJ260 enters the chat. I do believe it's actually more powerful than an AJ. Well, I don't know that for sure. Someone's going to have to fact check me on that one. Sorry, I'm tuning in. What's your TLDR on the explosion? Somebody dropped a COPV, CJ. I'm pretty convinced that this was a huge QA problem. Somebody didn't seat a COPV right, or somebody dropped it, or somebody bonked it when it was in transport or something, and it caused a tear in the fiber and delaminated under pressure. It happens. Wouldn't be the first time. I think this is just bad luck. I don't think this is a Block 2 ship design problem, believe it or not, which really sucks. This is just a bad day. What is a COPV? Composite overwrap pressure vessel. It's what rockets use to store high volumes of gases on rockets. Some rockets need gases for actuation. Starship is carrying these COPVs because it needs nitrogen to start the engines. They shoot nitrogen into the pre-burners on Raptor, and that gets them to spin, and that's how they turn the engine on. They got to spool it up, kind of like a jet engine. Right? It's your starter motor, so to speak. These COPVs, dude, John, what they are is think like a scuba tank almost. It's like pill-shaped, and they come in all different shapes and sizes. They come in one that's like this, maybe the size of a football, and they come in one that's the size of an automobile. They come in all different sizes. The ones on Starship are like 20 feet long. They're big. They're big COPVs. And maybe like 3 feet in diameter or something. They're huge. Like I'm talking like 4 meters by 1 meter. They're pretty large. What it is a titanium or aluminum or steel tank that's like pill-shaped, right? That's been wrapped in carbon fiber. It's been wrapped in carbon fiber, and that carbon fiber basically gets stronger as you pressurize the tank. I don't know if you've ever messed around with like a Chinese finger trap, like you get them at the carnival and stuff, like you put 2 fingers together. Look, it's the emote. You put your 2 fingers together, and then you try to pull, and the finger trap will, if you pull, the harder you pull, the stronger it gets. Same exact idea, but with pressurizing gases inside of a tank. It's the same thing. It's quite actually the same mechanical principles, only a Chinese finger trap isn't made out of carbon fiber. If it was, your fingers would not like that. You're wrapped in carbon fiber. No, I am not. I am in fact a human. Living tissue of a metal endoskeleton. Anyway, the COPV, the thing is, John, is that, you know, with the COPV, dude, they can hold like 10, 20,000 PSI of nitrogen. And if it pops, it's basically like a small automobile-sized grenade going off. Yeah. Couldn't it just be a valve break that made the COPV fill the space and unzip it? Art, it could be a valve. If it was a valve, you wouldn't have such a shock pressurization and unzipping of the payload bay. Whatever, the delta P in that tank changed really quick, indicating a shock. Basically, the payload bay popped and then it immediately exploded. That doesn't happen if you have a broken valve. If you have a broken valve, it shoots out, and it does shoot out at a high speed, but you'd see a gradual pressure ramp right there. You'd see a slight, gradual change in pressure. It wouldn't be a shock change in pressure and blow the top off of the Starship. The pneumatic pressure was enough there to actually rip the top of Starship off, and then it blew up. It went right to its thighs, and then it blew up. So when COPVs go, they go. It's like a grenade going off. It basically is a grenade. It's shooting carbon fiber shards everywhere. And that's what went off inside a Starship's payload bay. If what SpaceX is saying is right. It's all speculation at this point. But yeah, the part about COPVs, that's right. If they go, they go. They go big. It'll pop real fast. Could be a broken valve overpressurized the header tanks. The pop would explain the immediate explosion. There's no pneumatic. Why would your COPVs aren't connected to the header tanks, Aqualux? It's autogenous pressurization. The Raptor pneumatic tap off is connected to the tanks. Not the nitrogen goes down to the engines. Yeah, it's Axiom and NASA have put out a statement. No launch on Sunday. Launch is TBD. That's not great. You're a pin and hook system. Booster 9 rollout stream system. Nice, Guy Fox. Can't see me. What are you saying? I'm so tired of seeing the news. SpaceX ship blows up on launch pad. Hey, it's up to that's can't see me. I used to let that stuff bother the heck out of me, dude. It doesn't bother me anymore. You know what that just means? That just means my job is still relevant. We still got to teach more people about this stuff, dude. And there's a lot of people on YouTube and on Twitch that want to learn this stuff. So, hey, the more people we can educate, the better. And that's the best I can do. Because if I paid more attention to that, I would be very upset. I'd be very upset. If these people could read, they'd be very upset. That just tells me my job is not finished. Oh boy. Fun note about COPVs from Lori. What is this?
For COPVs are
Hold on.
both line.
All right, let's see what you got here. A NASA video, so we won't get knowledge at NASA archive.
Some of the significant failure modes for COPVs are both liner and composite related. So the liner failure modes that we've actually had failures occur during flight and also during qualification have been things that are associated with fracture control. So those can be things like sustained load crack growth, stress corrosion cracking, cyclic fatigue type crack growth.
Could have been that.
Incompatibility with the fluid that's being stored within the COPV.
Nice, Just Space.
Buckling of the liner. For the composite, there's other failure modes. Those can be, in some ways, more insidious because it is sometimes you don't get notice and they're very difficult to model. So, for example, those could be impact damage that's non-visible.
That's my guess. What Lori's saying about impact damage there, that's my guess. Somebody bonked this thing. It happens, dude. It happens, and there was no nefarious intent. Probably somebody didn't even notice. It was maybe it was in a box and somebody set it down with a forklift too hard. That would be enough to delaminate a COPV, and you would never be able to tell unless you x-rayed the whole thing. But there's no way to do that because it's already been x-rayed from the factory, right? Like,
it could be stress rupture failure mode, which can occur regardless of the type of overwrap right? You're particularly using in your composite. And those are particularly significant for COPVs. So, for example, for the shuttle, when they were doing development and qualification of COPVs that were specifically going to go on the shuttle, they had 9 failures that were both for metallic pressure vessels and also for COPVs. Those
both.
were related, and so that's why I mentioned the all metal version. Those COPVs failed from a lot of things that we deal with now using fracture control. So stress corrosion cracking, weld pores, weld defects, weld cracks.
Weld pores? Oh no. I wouldn't know nothing about that. No, now that I wouldn't know nothing. I don't know nothing about that. My welds aren't porous at all.
Also, cyclic fatigue. A lot of these things occurred because the Ti-64 that we were using at that time was kind of new, relatively speaking, and so we weren't terribly confident in our ability to weld. Since then, there's been a lot of advances, but at the time, these failures were occurring because we weren't, the technology was still a little bit immature at that time. In addition to the failures that occurred for shuttle during the development phase, since that time, we've done a lot more looking into COPVs in general and understanding how they fail. One of the failure modes that has become important is stress rupture life. And that stress rupture is the sudden failure of a COPV at typical operating pressures. And we know that this occurs and we can make this failure mode occur in the laboratory. Fortunately, it has not occurred on any flight project, but it could. And we need to understand the bounds at which it becomes important. That failure mode is, we know that it exists from test, but we aren't aware that it's, we haven't seen any failures due to that in service.
Yep. COPVs, dude, they got to be handled with care. It's really easy to break one. You'd be surprised how simple that is. Like even dropping it from like a couple inches, that's enough to cause a stress crack. Lori said it better than I did, but good video, Baron. Thank you. Yeah. My welds are fine. It's just I'm just adding in a crumple zone or something. We do next week when I'm all better. We gotta do some work on that damn car. I'm pissed that I couldn't work on it this week. Yeah, really, really, really not cool. Anyway, yeah, no, my welds don't have defects. None of them have failed yet. Anyway, guys, my back's starting to get angry again. That was a good space news, dudes. I hope you guys enjoyed it. There is some more space stuff, but I don't want to push it just in case this thing decides to spasm again. The reason why I was good for a couple hours is because I talked to my doctor yesterday and I got what I needed to get this under control. That and I hung on the inversion table basically between the stream this morning and now. So I hope you guys enjoyed this EJ's Space and Ship Explosion review. I thought it would be fun to come in here and talk with you guys about this. It was fun having Ryan on. Ryan, thank you very much, buddy. I'm going to go hang upside down. I'm going to go hang upside down. To make sure you sleep upside down. That's part of the reason why Keith Richards can't be killed by conventional weapons. Chat, did I tell you I was in Sri Lanka, formerly Ceylon, and we had to get 1,000 brown M&Ms or else Ozzy wouldn't come on stage that night. So Jeff Beck pops his head around the door and says there's a sweet shop on the edge of town. So we get in the car, we go, and sure enough, it's closed. So we had to break in. And we break in, and what we see is a man and his son and a gigantic Bengal tiger. Now, I managed to dispatch the tiger with a can of mace. but the man and his son. I had to strangle them to death with their own shoes. But sure enough, we got the brown M&Ms. Ozzy went on stage and played a great show.